And good evening, everyone. It's good to see you all here. DDJ, Philomena, Scott's Armor, Yankee Apple. Welcome
Hello.
to Heart of Europa, everyone. I am Lynx from Norway.
And I'm Katrina from the UK. Welcome to everyone. Hope you're having a lovely Sunday evening.
Yes, indeed. And tonight we have a night with the cunning little foxes. They are a bit of a cheeky little animal, you could say.
Definitely. And they're widely regarded as such. I would say universally regarded as such.
Absolutely.
I've found a lot of myths about them from all over the world.
Yeah.
Finland to Japan, but we shall get into that.
Indeed. I do think they're a bit in competition with the coyote in Northern America when it comes to cunningness.
Yes.
But
when it comes to personification of that concept, yes, I should imagine the coyote would rival the fox for the Americans in particular.
Yeah, but in Europe, it seems to be the foxes who are of the cunning type. Even
I think so.
Yeah, Machiavelli had the expression something with cunning as a fox, brave as a lion and cunning as a fox, I think. Something like that. The exact phrase escapes me at the moment.
Something like that. I haven't actually read any Machiavelli.
I've started The Prince, but I put it aside and never took it up again, but it is on my reading list, so I just need a little kick in the behind
to get it read. Basically, how to be a politician 101.
Yeah, what I did read and was just, okay, yeah, is there any paragraph here I don't recognize? So,
indeed.
It definitely seems like it's the handbook that every single politician has to read and pass in order to get into power. So
literally have to pass a Machiavelli test to be in the government, I think.
Yeah, I did watch a channel on George R.R. Martin, The Song of Ice and Fire, and it's run by a couple, and the lady said that she never dated a man unless he took a Machiavelli test. She was a psychology major in university, so she really wanted to know where her boyfriends were on that scale.
Machiavellianism test. I know there's this sort of ways to measure what they call the dark triad.
Yeah.
Which is the narcissism, the Machiavellianism, and something else. But I forget off the top of my head. Yankee Apple says if you have chickens, you will find out just how cunning foxes are. Oh, I don't doubt it.
Yeah, there are plenty of those stories, and it will feature tonight, actually. But I guess that's not really surprising when it comes to foxes. No. So foxes and chickens, they do go together. Hey, Promethean Healing, it's good to see you.
Very nice to see you indeed, my friend. So I did do a bit of looking into foxes in general folklore, and I guess one of the first examples I came across were Finland. Foxes in Finland. And that people had traditionally hunted foxes in Finland for their fur, and it was believed that people who managed to catch foxes had strong shamanistic powers. And foxes are associated in Finland with a goddess of flame called Keraita, or something like that, because I can't speak Finnish. Or a goddess called Lukata, and her name is derived from sand bench, which are common places for foxes' dens. So they're associated with two goddesses in Finland, it seems like. And the first sort of mythical fox I came across was the Tuliketu, or the Revontulet. Well, that's the Finnish word for Northern Lights, actually, and it means fox's tail. Because there is a myth that the Northern Lights are the sparks coming from a particular magical fox's tail. And this is based kind of on the truth, because when a fox is running across the cold snow, apparently it does sometimes generate some small electric sparks or something like that, which is interesting. But if you could catch one, you'd be a wealthy man for the rest of your life, apparently. But, you can't really catch one because they're as fast as the wind. So yeah, when the firefox runs in the snowy hills, its fur touches the snow and it creates magic sparks that fly up to the skies, which I found pretty cool. And I guess that must be where Firefox gets its logo from as well.
That may be. Knowing how, what's the word? Electrified? With static electricity, animals can get in winter when the air is dry and really cold. I'm really not surprised by that.
Exactly.
My cat gets electrified all during winter if it's cold and dry air.
Static.
Yeah. Just petting her when she comes in and everything. In particular, if I'm under my woolen blanket, you just have sparks going off all the time. I am not sure how she likes it. She doesn't seem that pleased with it, so yeah.
Must be annoying. I know it's annoying enough for me when my jumper gets static or something like that. Or my hair gets static.
Yeah.
Random electric shocks off your own jumper.
Yeah, well, luckily they're not that strong to actually hurt you, or it would be a bit bad.
Definitely. I don't think there's been any reported cases of death by jumper. Don't know, you can get statistics for anything, can't you? Probably has been jumper-related deaths.
Yeah.
Someone's listed the statistics somewhere, no doubt.
Yeah. Jumper related, that might be. I'm not sure about electrified jumpers, though. I think that subcategory might be a bit hard to actually have statistics above 0. Hopefully so. I do like my jumpers in winter.
What's the chat on about? They're on about cookies and sausage. That's what they're on about.
Yeah,
cool.
if DDJ had a foxy with naming Kevin of all things, which is interesting.
Kevin is a good solid name. It's a decent name. Nice English name. Kevin.
Yeah, not what I associate with foxes, but each to his own taste, as always.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but the second most well-known place that I seem to have found foxes is, well, Aesop's fables. So there's, a fable from Aesop that tells the story of a fox who's trying to get some grapes that are hanging on a vine, and the grapes are just beyond his reach, and no matter how high he jumps, he can't reach them. And finally, he says, nah, they were probably sour anyway. And that, yeah. I can't have this, but probably wasn't that great. Fine.
Yeah, that
We've
do
all done
seem to
that.
be, yeah, it does seem to be a bit of the character of a fox. If it can't get anything it wants, then it's probably bad anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah. When people are envious of something they can't have, this sort of message is taken of this fable. Then they'll often do down the things that they don't have as not that good anyway.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of the time, or you find that certain people will.
Yeah, well, I do get that mindset. Partially in that, if it's meant to be, then it will happen. But if not, it's not meant to be. And in that sense, because it didn't go down that path, it wasn't right for you, so it wouldn't be so good as you thought it would. But it can be a bit, oh well, it wasn't good anyway, so I don't care. But secretly they really, really care, They're trying to convince themselves.
Like, I didn't. Like, you can find that sometimes at universities. Like, you meet a few people like, yeah, I didn't get into Oxford. I probably wouldn't have liked it there anyway, but yeah, I'm fine. I didn't need to go to Oxford. I'm happy. I'm happy that I went to Leeds.
Yeah.
That type of a mentality.
Yeah. Well, these days I'm quite sure I wouldn't like it at Oxford. So
Nah.
maybe in a different time period. Yeah.
I feel like it's just as paused as any other university these days, yeah.
Oh yeah. So if I were to start there now, it would be just hunkered down to get my degree, just keeping my head low and try to survive.
That is what anyone with a remotely dissident sort of viewpoint has to do these days to get
normal viewpoint.
Yes, normal viewpoint.
Yeah.
When you live in a period of history where being normal is the rebellion, huh? Oh dear.
It's quite funny actually.
Yes.
But also
indeed.
something you do have to remind yourself of. Not to despair too much,
True. But yeah.
So, should we have our first story, which do pretend to being patient, you could say?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should.
Okay.
Let's have that.
Yeah. Roll story.
The Fox and the Geese. A fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm. The fox once came to a meadow, in which there was a flock of fine fat geese, on which he smiled and said, I come in the nick of time. You are sitting together quite beautifully, so that I can eat you up, one after the other. The geese cackled with terror, sprang up, and began to wail and beg piteously for their lives. But the fox would listen to nothing, and said, There is no mercy to be had. You must die. At length, one of them took heart and said, if we poor geese are to yield up our vigorous young lives, show us the only possible favour, and allow us one more prayer, that we may not die in our sins. Then we will place ourselves in a row, so that you can pick yourself the fattest." "Yes," said the fox. "That is a reasonable and pious request. Pray away. I will wait till you are done." Then the first began a good long prayer, forever saying "Ga, ga," as she would make no end. The second did not wait until her turn came, but also began "Ga, ga." The third and fourth followed her, and soon they were all cackling together. When they have done praying, the story shall be continued further. But at present, they are all still praying without stopping.
So yeah, the fox had to be quite patient to get those geese, I would say.
Yes. Indeed. Also, I think the main message of that story was be careful what you promise.
Yeah, we have
I think
seen that.
It was.
We have seen that a few times already.
And it was a relevant point to Indo-European sort of society, because of course oaths were taken very seriously, and therefore once you made one, you were indeed bound by it.
Yeah, my order was just a bit slow to come in there. Also, it's also the I'm sorry, what just my YouTube giving me strange messages. I was going to say, it is in
Just
the
having
European.
a look at the chat.
The European culture also have several different types of stories where being cunning, using one's brain is important. It has been an important part of our culture for a very long time.
It has indeed.
Yeah,
yes.
Very well portrayed with the Smith and the Devil stories, or other stories where it pertains to tricking the devil. So it does seem to be something that we've always valued very highly. But much of the moral of the stories also say that you shouldn't be cunning to trick just anyone. You know, it's more to get out of trouble more than get into trouble.
Yes,
so,
yeah.
It has do have a good balance with being used properly, and the foxes seems to be an animal to represent how not to do it.
Yeah, I would say so. Because there's quite a lot of these stories where there are some of these stories where the fox gets his comeuppance for being cunning, and then others of these stories where he's actually the winner. I don't think his cunning sort of ways of trickery are ever portrayed as the right sort of action, though.
No. Some of those stories might point more to you having to be careful with cunning persons or cunning animals like a fox. There was one story I was planning to read today, but I didn't have time to record it. which tells of how the fox got a white tip of the tail.
Ah. That sounds like an interesting one, actually. Be interested to know how the fox got that.
Yeah, it all started with a wife in Norway, you see. And she was looking for someone to shepherd her sheep and cows and everything. So she went out on the road. And she met a bear, and he asked her where she was going. And she said, "Oh, I'm looking for a shepherd." And the bear said, "Well, couldn't I be your shepherd?" "Well, of course you could," said the wife. But it will depend on how good you are to calling at the animals." So the bear roared, and the wife went, "Nope, that isn't right. You cannot be the shepherd of my livestock." And she went on the road again and walked a bit further, and she met a wolf. And the wolf also asks her, I'm sorry, my tongue is not cooperating today. And the wife tells him that she is looking for a shepherd. So the wolf asks,
ideal shepherding material.
Oh yeah, definitely. So the wolf asks if he can't be a shepherd. And she said, well, yes, he can, but it will depend on how good he is to calling the animals. And the wolf howls. And the wife goes, nope, you cannot be the shepherd of my livestock. Sorry. And continues on her way. And after another while, she meets a fox. And he asks her asks her where she is going. She tells him as well that she is out looking for a shepherd for her livestock. And the fox asked if he can't be a shepherd. And she said, well, yes, but it depends on how well you are to call the animals. And the fox goes, "Ow, ow." And the wife actually quite liked how he was calling and said, okay, you can be my shepherd. So she shows her the livestock, and the first day after the wife has gone home, he eats all of her sheep. And the second day, he eats all of the cows. And then he goes for all of the chickens on the last day. And on returning,
must be really full by now.
Well, yeah, definitely. So when he returns to the farm, the wife asks how the livestock is doing and where they are. Well, said the fox, the skulls are in the river and the carcass is on the field. And the wife goes, what? And runs out of the house and up to the field to see what the hell is going on.
Oh no.
And the fox goes into the house where the wife was churning butter. And he eats every single drop of cream. And he's just finished when the wife returns, so he runs off. And the wife is so angry that she tosses the butter churn after him. But there was one drop
Impressive
left.
that Fox is doing wrong at this point.
Yeah, you would think that he was rolling, not running, but apparently he was running. But there was one last drop of cream in the butter churn, and that landed on the fox's tail, which is why it is white today.
Ah, cream. Well, that is an interesting story.
Yeah.
Yeah, this lady seems a little bit too willing to trust carnivorous animals with her livestock. Most certainly.
Yeah, well, that is a motive in many Norwegian stories, that you should be aware of strangers and not just trust their word. And Scandinavians are famously naive and trusting, so there's a reason behind those stories, which seems to be lost these days.
This is true. We see repeatedly in our old stories that they do warn us about stranger danger. If someone unknown comes along, do not automatically trust them. And it is
Yeah,
indeed a lesson that many places could learn from today.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're roboting a bit?
Am I? Oh dear. Chat, are we doing alright on the audio? It may be my internet or something such. I'll try and keep close to the mic.
Yeah, it's more of the connection, I think. Unless you've been replaced by an AI since last week.
But no. No. Definitely not. No robots here.
Well, that's
None.
good to hear. It does seem to be the connection, so maybe you could try to leave and come back.
I could do. I'm just gonna turn off the internet on some of the devices. Jump in and out of the stream and see what that does.
Yeah.
I'll be back in just a sec, folks.
That's a live show for you guys. You can't always predict how it will go. So, the fox stories from Norway are very much about cunning, and in combination with origin stories. There's another one about how the bear got a short tail, but I suppose that will be a story for another day. So, yeah, I always found that story funny with how the fox got a white tail. And it definitely does not pay to be too naive when you're in charge of the household, which quite a few women were when the husbands were away. And Katrina is back, so...
Hello.
No robot. You turn back into a human.
Gross.
Yeah.
But yes. What did I miss?
I was basically just saying how fox stories in Norway tend to be about how cunning they are, or origin stories. There are one about why the bear has a short tail or a stubby tail, but that is a story for another day. And yes, DJ, geese can be very mean. Indeed. My favorite GIF on Telegram is of a very cheeky goose, actually.
Geese are indeed very naughty.
Yeah.
Don't like geese.
I was crossing the path of two of them this spring. because there's a few geese that live on a beach a bit from where I live. And the path was had the ocean on one side and a fence on the other side. So there wasn't much room. And as I was passing them, I just heard a hissing from one of them. And I just went, oh my god. And
death by goose.
Yeah, so I did turn around quite a bit when I had them behind me, just in case. But they're so used to humans that they didn't actually attack. They just made it very clear that they didn't like me being there. But I was not attacked. So
what did I miss
good.
in the comments? Geese sound like they're perpetually angry. Yes, they do. And yes, they do poop everywhere. Robo Dragon.
They also sound like they have a chronic throat infection.
Incidentally, that's what the Germans say about the Dutch.
Well,
true story.
I'm not going to comment. I was a bit surprised about all of the harking noises they had the first time I heard it. So yeah, I can understand it.
No offense to the Dutch.
Absolutely none.
Yeah, but I sort of was looking into where foxes were about in mythology again. Thanks. Did you ever heard of the Tumessian fox or the Toimessian fox?
No, I haven't.
Well, apparently that in Greek mythology was said by God, possibly Dionysus, to punish the city of Thebes for a crime the people had committed. And eventually Creon, the regent of the city, told Amphitron to catch and kill the fox, who had the idea of bringing a dog called Laelaps to his aid. And Laelaps was actually able to catch whatever prey it was after. Thus a paradox got created. A fox that could never be caught, because the Tumessian fox always evaded its hunter, was hunted by a dog that caught everything it hunted. And so Zeus had to turn both animals into stone, and then into constellations, which the dog became Canis Major, and the fox became Canis Minor, apparently. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I am reading about the Greek constellation myth, but I hadn't come to that one yet.
Tumescent means engorged or swollen. Yes. Huh. I don't know if the two words have relation. The Tumessian fox and the word. It sounds like they would have a relation. Think so. Interesting that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I sort of think this is the sort of the first time that I've ever seen a fox sort of represent an animal that's been brought down to punish. That's not usually a role for them.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just typing a comment and just reading Didi.
Usually related to an erotic act. Okay. Okay. That means that kind of engorged. Yeah. Right.
Good to know.
Oh dear. That's a fancy way of saying it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very fancy.
Maybe we should bring it back.
Oh, just hi to Dual Citizen, by the way, on
Yeah,
YouTube, and Gammon Sandwich. Hello to you too. Nice to see ya.
absolutely. It seems my chat is a bit on a lag, so I was just catching up.
Yes, that can be a problem with the chat sometimes.
Yeah,
PDJ knows words.
I'm tempted to call them värds, but I'll be good.
I don't know what that means, so okay.
It's one of those strange languages I've recently come across, so not always easy to interpret. And here I thought I was, I don't know, some linguistic super talent or something. Just kidding.
Yeah. But yeah, I suppose we are probably moving on to sort of your story about foxes next. So that's the widow fox.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite as a child. I think I've mentioned that before. Rehearing it as a grown-up in these days, I do take the meaning a bit differently than I did as a kid.
Yeah,
Turns out to...
I mean, coming back to some of the ones that I've known previously as a kid during this show, it does when we contextualize them. Sorry. Also, my mouth is not working today. But yeah, it recontextualizes them a lot, and it gives you a new perspective on them, most certainly, quite often.
Yeah, well, that is often the case with fairy tales in that they're layered in their meaning. So what you understand as a kid might be quite different from what you understand as a grown-up. There are several that I have gotten a new view of as an adult and seeing what's going around. So turned out our ancestors were pretty smart. Shocking, I know.
Indeed. Very shocking. I thought they didn't get anywhere. I thought they lived in mud huts.
Yeah,
I suddenly acquired an empire.
Yeah, just overnight. I think we've been living in caves the whole time since we stepped out of our Viking ships. Sorry.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Amazing. Who knew? Our ancestors were smart.
Yeah. Who would have guessed? I have done a heroic try to do voices on this one for the simple reason that some stories I can't read out without doing voices because it's so implemented from my childhood in that it's supposed to be voices, and this is one of them, so bear with me. And let's hear the Widow Fox.
With voices.
The Widow Fox. There once was a fox and his wife, and they lived deep in the woods in a foxhole. They were friends and got along very well together, as couples can do. But then one day, the fox sneaked his way into the farmer's hen house, and there he ate everything in sight. And it was all too much for him, so he became sick and died. And no matter how much Mrs. Fox mourned and cried, he remained dead. But when he had been laid to rest, and all their friends had said their farewell at the wake, the suitors started visiting the widow. On Saturday night, 3 knocks came at the door of the foxhole. "Oh, do go and see who it is, Kitty," said the widow fox. She had a cat in her service, and Kitty was her name. When Kitty opened the door, there was a bear standing outside. "Good evening," greeted the bear. "Good evening to you," said Kitty. "Is the widow fox at home tonight?" asked the bear. "She's sitting inside," answered the cat. "What is she doing tonight? Is she ill or well?" "Oh, she's mourning that her husband is no more, crying her nose red and sore. She does not know what to do," said Kitty. "Tell her to come outside, and she'll receive some good advice on that account," said the bear. When the cat came in, the widow fox asked, "Who is walking around outside and knocking on the door so that I cannot have a moment's peace?" "Oh, it's your suitors," said the cat. "I was to ask you to go outside and you would receive some good advice." "Before I go outside, tell me, what color is his coat?" asked the widow fox. "Beautiful and brown," answered the cat. "A huge guy with keen eyes." Let him go, let him go. I do not need his advice," said she. Kitty went back to the door and opened it a crack, saying, "She asks you to go home. She does not want any advice." It was nothing else for it, and the bear had to turn around and go back to where he came from. Next Saturday evening, there was yet another knock at the door. This time a wolf was standing outside. "Good evening," said the wolf. "Is the widow fox at home?" Yes, she was indeed at home. "What is she doing this evening? Is she ill or well?" "Oh, she does not know what to do," answered the cat. "She cries her nose sore and red, grieving over her husband dead." "Ask her to come outside, and she might get some advice," said the wolf. "Who is running around knocking, so I cannot have a moment's peace?" asked the widow. "Oh, it's your suitors I would know," said the cat. "I was to tell you to go outside, and you might get some good advice." Again, the widow would know what color his coat was before going outside. "Beautiful and grey, body lean and long." Let him go, let him go. I do not need his advice," said the widow. And when the wolf got her answer, he had to turn back as well. The third Sunday evening, it was the same again. Someone knocked 3 times on the door, and the cat went out to see who it was. This time it was a hare. "Good evening," said he. "Good evening to you," said the cat. "Is it strangers at the door so late at night?" Yes, that was the way of it. And he too asked if the widow fox was home and what she was doing. "She's crying her nose red and sore, now that her husband is no more," answered Kitty. "Oh, tell her to come outside, and she will get some good advice," said the hare. "Who is bustling outside and knocking on our door, so I cannot get a moment's peace?" asked the widow. "That would be your suitors," said the cat. Yes, the widow fox wanted to know the color of this one's coat as well. "Beautiful and shining white, thick calico and bright." But this wasn't any better than the others. Let him go, let him go. I do not need his advice," said the widow. Then the fourth Sunday evening came, and with it 3 knocks at the door to the foxhole. "Do go and see who it is, Kitty," said the widow fox to the cat. And when she opened the door, there stood a fox on the doorstep. "Good evening. It's good to see you again," said the fox. "Same to you," answered Kitty. "Is the widow fox at home this evening?" asked he. "Yes, she's crying her nose all red and sore, mourning her husband that is no more," said the cat. "She does not know what to do, poor thing." Just tell her to come outside, and she'll get some good advice. So Kitty went inside again. Who is walking all around and knocking on the door, so I cannot have a moment's peace? Asked the widow. Oh, you know, said the cat, it's your suitors. I was to tell you to go outside, and you would receive some good advice. What color is his coat? Asked the widow fox this time, like all the other times. Beautiful and red, just like his who is no more, answered the cat. Oh, let him in, let him in. He will have good advice, said the widow. Get my stockings and get my coat. I would love to join him for a walk. He was the one she wanted, and it wasn't long until the wedding took place. And if he hasn't been to the henhouse as well, they will be living in the foxhole to this day. I had to so, yeah, I resisted the urge to start the stream with good evening. It really, I really couldn't do the story without having the hair just go, good evening.
It's sort of traditional then, is it, to do the voices with that one in Norway?
Yeah, or at least slightly. I wasn't able to do it without, so
Gotta
the story.
do the voices.
Try at least. Just excuse me for 1 minute. Luna wants to come in.
Okay. The audio dropped out at the end there. Did you not hear the end of the story? Only the last 2 seconds, though. So yeah, did you not know how the story ends? Yes, no. But yes. Mrs. Fox. Widow Fox only wanted a fox. Well, that's quite discriminatory of her.
Yeah, I know.
She was judging on coat color.
Yeah.
How bigoted.
I know. Think of the goal to judge someone on the color of their coat.
You didn't hear the end of the story, not really. Is what DDJ is saying.
It dropped out at the end of the story?
Yes, apparently.
Huh.
Well, that is rather annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose it was because I had a fiery background go. That takes up quite a bit of the CPU, so I have been experimenting with that tonight.
But yes, Fox comes to the door, and Miss Widow Fox is greeting for her husband, and she asks, "What color coat does this suitor have?" And the kitty tells her that this one's coat is a fine, beautiful red, just like her dead husband's, and she wants to see him. And she goes out for a walk with him, and then they live happily ever after.
The wedding was not long after, and unless he went into the hen house as well, then they should be still living there in the foxhole.
Yeah. For me, listening on YouTube, I heard all of that.
Yeah, okay.
So I heard all of the unless he went to the hen house as well, they should still be living in the foxhole.
I suppose it
So,
it varies a bit. In any case, the story will be up tomorrow, so you can take a listen then. And then you can get the whole thing and
indeed, whole thing, no interruptions. I think hens should be armed, says DDJ.
They should have teeth, but I do hear hen teeth are very rare.
Mm.
One
Yes.
should think their beak was sharp and their claws, but apparently that's not enough for a fox. But these chickens seems to have been poisonous for the first Mr. Fox. So there is a version of this by the Brothers Grimm, but it's very short, almost just a couple of paragraphs, I think it was. In Norway, however, we have two versions. We have this version, which I mostly grew up with. The image I used is from the version by Ivo Caprino. He was an Italian immigrant and made a lot of puppet films based on fairy tales and stuff like that.
Yes, I believe you've mentioned him before, actually.
Yeah, I have. He did a slightly different version, which is also from Asbjørnsen og Mo, the story collectors in Norway in the 1800s. So that story is a bit more similar to other stories. First, the wolf went to see. I think it was the bear first this time as well. Went to woo the widow fox. And on the way, he met an old woman who had managed to get her nose stuck in a tree stump. And she had been there for 100 years without any food or water, poor thing.
That's a strange predicament to get oneself into.
Yeah, I have often wondered how you get your nose stuck in a tree stump, unless you are sniffing for ants or something. But
sniffing a tree.
Yeah, and a dead one at that. There's at least one other story with an old woman in a similar predicament, so apparently it's a theme. So he refuses to help her, and shortly afterward meets a hare who is recently married and is really happy and wants to tell him about it, about his new wife and home. But the bear doesn't care and instead chases the hare and comes to the courtyard of the widow fox. And the hare stumbles, and the bear wants to make a good impression on the widow and helps it up and everything and goes knocking. But the cat servant has seen it all and is saying, "Oh, this isn't anyone you should trust." And the bear is sent away. Then a wolf does the same, meets the old woman and doesn't help her and starts to chase the hare. And he doesn't get a good viewing from the cat either, and is also sent away. And then there's a fox, a poor fox, that comes along and meets the lady. And he decides to help the lady. You know, he's a good guy. And since she hasn't eaten for 100 years, he gives her the last bit of his food.
That's very nice of him.
Yeah, and pays off as well. For in return, she gives him a brand new coat, which is all red and dazzling, and with a bit of cream, she makes the tip of the tail shining bright white. And off he goes to the widow and comes across the hare, who still really, really wants to talk about his new wife and home. And this fox is very polite and listens to everything and wishes them all the best in the future. And the cat sees all this, and he gets her very, very warm recommendation when the widow fox asks who is there. And obviously she wants to meet him, and he's invited in, and it's not too long until the wedding is held, and they lived happily ever after. So this version of the story isn't one I've usually heard, but I do think I do think it is an interesting version as well.
Quite interesting, yeah.
J-Link asked if that is that an eyeball of on the lazy boy? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, it's a type of chair.
Okay.
And yes, that is indeed a large dragon eye sat on what is known as the lazy boy.
I've always thought the eye was just floating, but
well, it's sort of floating above the chair. I thought it'd be funny to put it there, just because eyes don't usually sit on chairs. That's me. The big floating eye.
It's just, I've never really thought about it, so I just thought, ooh, floating eye.
Yes.
So, yeah. I suppose I'm a bit slow or something. But I do find...
Welcome, by the way, J-Link.
Yeah, welcome. I do like the Widow Fox stories, because they are generally good stories, but also obviously with the moral of the story, keep to your own, which is the part I didn't understand until I was grown up.
Yes. Yeah, and it's perfectly natural. You know, I don't know how they'd end that story today. Maybe Mrs. Fox would... Maybe the Widow Fox would go off with the bear instead.
Probably the wolf.
Probably the wolf, yeah.
Yeah.
Despite that being a completely different species. And it not being genetically advantageous for a fox and a wolf to reproduce.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course she wants someone who is going to have a similar mindset to her, who's going to be similar to her.
Yeah.
And similar to the type of person or animal fox that she knows she likes.
Yeah, having the same lifestyle, of course, and I suppose there's something to the physical attraction there as well.
Yeah.
It's the whole
I think
package,
so.
basically. Yeah.
Thank you for the ice cream, Jenny.
Yeah. Dancing
Very cool of you.
Penguin has donated 5 lemon. And Promethean Healing has donated 1 lemon. Thank you all very much. It's much appreciated.
Jill Citizen. Outside with some great advice. Oh, naughty.
Yeah.
Oh
And
dear.
do not forget the stocking.
No, don't forget the stocking. Whenever someone's waiting outside for you with some good advice, you must always bring lingerie, apparently.
Well, you
Nah,
can't
it's just
go
what women
out.
wore in those days.
Yeah, well, you can't really go out naked now, can you?
No, you can't.
She did ask
It's
Kitty for her
Norwegian winter.
coat as well. Yeah.
The coat.
Yeah.
Can't go outside with that coat.
I'm sure it was beautiful and red, with a white tail. Tip of the tail.
Foxes are such flipping beautiful animals.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few different types. The red fox, of course, the coat is particularly stunning, but you can get the rare black fox or silver fox. That's not just an expression, actually. They're genuine, quite rare black foxes.
I did see a very beautiful picture of a black fox with a snow white tail tip. I always want to say tail tip because that's the word in Norwegian. Obviously not tail, that is hale.
Yeah.
But translating that, I sort of have to jumble the words. But it was really lovely. I've also seen other pictures of rare kinds of foxes.
Yeah.
One that is a deep red and black.
Yeah, I think they literally do call that a firefox, don't they?
I don't remember. I saw it on Twitter and it was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I think that's a cross of some sort between the red and black fox, and they do call it a firefox.
Yeah.
I know that a black fox was found in a garden in Cheshire recently. All the articles that I saw about it described it as a bit fat. Apparently been kept as a pet by someone and fed a bit too much. So now it's been splashed all over the newspapers and they've all called him chunky. Terrible.
A fat fox, of all things.
Shaming him for his physique. What do they expect?
You wouldn't think that would happen these days. You know, body shaming a fox? How dare they?
Yeah, how dare they? It's very discriminatory. He's beautiful just the way he is. Healthy at every size.
Yeah. The Arctic fox change color, if I remember correctly. They turn white in winter.
Yeah,
obviously for the snow, but
apparently they don't all turn white. Apparently, maybe about a third of them do that, but others of them turn like grey.
Yeah.
Or darker brown or something to blend in where they're at. Because they're very widely distributed, the Arctic foxes. And they're in Iceland, and they're in Greenland, and they're in the Pribilof Islands, and they're in the Bering Islands. It's a sort of circumpolar distribution. They can get around. They trek incredibly long distances. But they're very widely distributed, and they're quite versatile. Their coat sort of camouflage adapts to where they're living, and it can get as low as about -50 degrees C before they're showing any signs of discomfort. and they're definitely not just white in the winter. They actually they've actually found one that trekked over 5,000 kilometers in like 1 year from northern Canada to somewhere else.
Yeah, they're quite
Pretty cool.
amazing. Yeah, the Arctic foxes are quite cool.
I have to say, my favorite thing I found out about them was that a group of them is known as a skulk. A skulk of foxes.
Yeah,
That's brilliant.
yeah, it's quite similar to a murder of crows. Or is that ravens?
Murder of crows. No, murder of crows. Yeah.
Yeah, they do hold parliament as well. So some expressions do get a bit interesting.
Jalen thinks he saw one once, a silver fox. Might have been a small coyote, but it's very young. That's cool.
Yeah.
If you did see one, they really are quite rare.
Yeah.
And Arctic foxes are not that rare, apparently.
We do have them in Norway.
Apparently, there's disagreement really over whether you should hunt them because it's justified sort of as necessary to protect cattle and eider duck populations. But some people don't think you should hunt Arctic foxes. I'm not sure where I stand on that issue. I know you can see 2 of them at the Arctic Fox Center in Iceland, Ingi and Mori, and they are flipping cute. They're cute. They're like, I guess what you call blue morphs. But they're like very pale.
Yeah, when it comes to hunting,
they're so cute.
When it comes to hunting, it's a bit difficult to say. Some of those things are really coming from some of the people who are, super green, and some of the stances isn't really that logical when all is said and done. But on the other hand, conserving every little thing can get a bit overboard as well. So I think it would have to be an overall evaluation.
Exactly, because we know a lot of people pushing who are in sort of green circles push a lot of things that are very counter to the protection of the environment quite a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Which I won't really get into too much.
Yeah, over here we have a never-ending argument about wolves. Because I think it was in the 1800s the wolf went extinct in Norway, and then they reintroduced it in the 80s, I think it was, with wolves from Russia. And that was to get the normal environment back, so to speak. Reintroducing a species that is normal in this environment. And of course the farmers don't like it because they take a tiny minority of sheep and everything during the summer. Because we don't have shepherds anymore. So they basically just let the sheep out in the field and let them fend for themselves. And a few of them are taken by predators, not only wolves. And the farmers are always complaining about it, but they don't want to look after them as well, so it's sort of their own fault. But of course they only blame those who reintroduced the wolf. So the meme for them is that that's a decision from Oslo, and if the poodles in Oslo was starting to be taken, then the pipe would get a different tune. But apparently, a mating pair was in the woods outside of Oslo a couple of years ago, within the city borders. But that went well, apparently. So there is a bit of hunting, but some say it's too much, others say it's not enough. So, yeah. In general,
it's
I would...
complicated.
Well, I do think that the farmers should look after their sheep. So, without they have money for shepherds, so, yeah.
Yeah, true. I witnessed a murder. Cop. Who? A murder of crows. Badum. Oh dear. Yeah, we've got some crows of approval. Now there's a debate really about how to tackle the urban fox population in Britain. In Britain we do have a bit of an excess of foxes, just on like 33,000 urban foxes. And there's certainly a debate going on about how to handle them, and whether or not they're dangerous, like how dangerous they are, whether or not they will attack
Have
children
that
and
ever
stuff.
happened?
There have been a few cases. There's been some reported cases, but then again, I believe one of them was cast doubt upon because the family also had a badly trained dog as well, which they might not have been admitting to having done it. But yeah, there's some people who absolutely hate urban foxes, and other people who think they're great.
Yeah.
I know I've got a fox that sometimes sleeps in the garden of where I live.
I'm not sure. Yeah,
It's quite
I
cool
would
to
think
see it
so.
down there.
I don't think I've seen
sometimes.
a fox in real life. Actually, they're quite shy.
Yeah, I think if they know you're watching them, then they will go off. Yeah.
Yeah, so the rats don't have that competition. I have actually seen signs in urban areas not long ago that don't place bread here because rats will come. Didn't used to have to place stuff like that.
Oh.
I have seen rats in the city. Not fun. But not foxes.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have quite a lot of foxes in Britain, apparently. They've been blamed for killing penguins at London Zoo. I don't know exactly what happened there. And but apparently there are thought to be 16 per square mile in London alone. Although there's probably far more rats.
One would think so. So yeah, you might not want to have them in the city. I will have to agree with that.
Apparently Jenny sees mostly grey foxes in her area. It is a lot of foxes, Philomena, indeed. Well, we do have another story from myself tonight, and this one does include both a fox and a wolf. Coincidentally,
I just want to say hi to Ertin. Just came in YouTube.
Hello. Nice to see you.
Yeah. Let's turn on the final story then. Yeah.
Indeed. Let's have that. The Wolf and the Fox, a fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm. The wolf had the fox with him, and whatsoever the wolf wished, that the fox was compelled to do, for he was the weaker, and he would gladly have been rid of his master. It chanced that once as they were going through the forest, the wolf said, "Red fox, get me something to eat, or else I will eat thee thyself." Then the fox answered, "I know a farmyard where there are 2 young lambs. If thou art inclined, we will fetch one of them." That suited the wolf, and they went thither, and the fox stole the little lamb, took it to the wolf, and went away. The wolf devoured it, but was not satisfied with one. He wanted the other as well, and went to get it. As, however, he did so awkwardly, the mother of the little lamb heard him, and began to cry out terribly, and to bleat, so that the farmer came running there. They found the wolf, and beat him so mercilessly that he went to the fox, limping and howling. "Thou hast mistered me finely," said he. "I wanted to fetch another lamb, and the country folks surprised me, and have beaten me to a jelly." The fox replied, "Why art thou such a glutton?" Next day they again went into the country, and the greedy wolf once more said, "Red fox, get me something to eat, or I will eat thee thyself." Then the fox answered, "I know a farmhouse where the wife is baking pancakes tonight. We will get some of them for ourselves." And they went there, and the fox slipped into the house, and peeped and sniffed about until he discovered where the dish was, and then drew down 6 pancakes, and carried them to the wolf. "There is something for thee to eat," he said to him, and went his way. The wolf swallowed down the pancakes in an instant, and said, "They make me want one more," and went thither and tore the whole dish down so that it broke into pieces. This made such a great noise that the woman came out, and when she saw the wolf, she called the people who hurried there, and beat him as long as their sticks would hold together, till with 2 lame legs, and howling loudly, he got back to the forest. "How abominably thou hast mistered me," cried he. "The peasants caught me, and tanned my skin for me." But the fox replied, "Why art thou such a glutton?" On the 3rd day, when they were out together, and the wolf could only limp along painfully, he again said, "Red fox, get me something to eat, or I will eat thee thyself." The fox answered, "I know a man who has been killing, and the salted meat is lying in a barrel in the cellar. We will get that." Said the wolf, "I will go when thou dost, that thou mayest help me if I am not able to get away." "I am willing," said the fox, and showed him the bypaths and ways by which at length they reached the cellar. There was meat in abundance, and the wolf attacked it instantly and thought, "There is plenty of time before I need to leave off." The fox liked it also, but looked about everywhere, and often ran to the hole by which they had come in, and tried if his body was still thin enough to slip through it. The wolf said, "Dear fox, tell me why thou art running here and there so much, and jumping in and out." "I must see that no one is coming," replied the crafty fellow. "Don't eat too much." Then said the wolf, "I shall not leave until the barrel is empty." In the meantime, the farmer, who had heard the noise of the fox's jumping, came into the cellar. When the fox saw him, he was out of the hole at one bound. The wolf wanted to follow him, but he had made himself so fat with eating that he could no longer get through, and stuck fast. Then came the farmer with a cudgel and struck him dead, but the fox bounded into the forest, glad to be rid of the old glutton.
So yeah, quite a naughty wolf there, and quite a clever fox in how to get away. I will note, however, that you've just confirmed that we're bots of Putin.
Oh.
Yeah.
What with the picture?
Can't you use Pravda pictures, you know?
Oh dear. Can't use Pravda pictures. Oh,
I did
no.
have a bit of a chuckle setting up the scene.
That was actually... It was actually from a story about a wolf and a fox that made friends. They don't... I think, what's going on there, they're just having a little play fight. I don't think that's that serious.
No, the picture was good. It was. I just had to chuckle a bit with seeing Pravda up there.
Yeah. Putin
did it. Putin did it. Oh no, Putin is having people read fairy tales.
Yeah, so that is right, folks. Putin is funding reading fairy tales because this is somehow advantageous to him in the West. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh dear. But yeah, certainly a lesson about being greedy.
Yeah.
And controlling oneself. And not rushing into things on impulse.
Yeah.
In that story. Which we do often find the wolf personifying greediness.
But also the fox, when he's on his own, or at least not under any other paw, then he do tend to be a bit greedy himself. But he's also cunning enough to be able to use other people's greed to his own advantage.
Certainly has in this case. And
thank you to Bertie Bassett for the ice cream. Very much appreciated.
Thank you indeed, Mr. Bertie Bassett. It's a pretty iconic figure, actually. The man on the front of the licorice, all sorts. Prestigious. We're glad you liked the stream, Mr. Bassett. But yeah. No, I definitely liked that one. A very simple message, I think most of these stories have had tonight. Be careful what you promise. Don't be greedy. Just sort of quintessential folklore messages that people needed to have small reminders of in their everyday. No sort of very deep metaphorical meanings in the ones tonight.
No, you don't really need that every time. But foxes do appear quite often, so it's a theme to have mentioned.
Yeah. Oh, DDJ has to be away. Yes, indeed, you're streaming, aren't you, Didi?
Is that...
And if you go to Scott's Armor's channel, you might catch that as well. English Bird just followed.
Welcome, English Bird.
Hello.
And yeah.
Nice to see you.
Have a good show, Dee. Talk to you later.
Bertie always seems to miss this. Yeah, it can be a bit difficult because sometimes DLive doesn't give people notifications, sometimes YouTube doesn't give people notifications, and of course sometimes people are just a bit busy when it's on, but we do always have the replays on DLive available for 3 days, and YouTube, they are up there. We are in the process of uploading streams to Odyssey, so they can
quite
be
a few
viewable there.
from the second season are up now on Odyssey, so please follow us there. If Katrina can provide a link in the YouTube chat, that would be great.
Yes, I'll try and find the Odyssey link just now and provide that.
I really do need to get a little note with all of our links so that I have them ready.
I could probably hand out the Hearth of Europa campsite link, which links to all of our sites that you can find us on. In fact, it's the first thing to come up on Google if you type in Hearth of Europa campsite, which is good.
Do follow us on Telegram, Twitter, and Gab. We will keep you updated with upcoming shows and everything there. And for those who aren't aren't on Twitter, you can still access the site, unlike Facebook, for example. So you can just bookmark it.
Indeed, yes. And JC wants to teach his children these stories, which is very good. I would advise you to listen to them and read them, and especially when you're telling them to kids, it's great to have your own versions and your own unique way that you tell it. As well. Which is really cool.
We do upload all of our stories as well, and if they can be a resource for parents or people who teach children stuff and everything, that would be amazing. So, a bit better than putting them in front of the TV, you can put them in front of our playlist, for example. So, we do hope that it's a good resource for people.
Yeah. We can maybe compile a playlist of solely kid-friendly ones. Most of the stories on here, I would say, are quite suitable for kids. Maybe a few are not, like Wayland. Wayland would not be one.
Parents' discretion.
But yes.
Is
parents' discretion, yeah.
I am of the view that quite a few people are a bit too careful with their kids these days. But maybe Wayland isn't the right story, or The Sweetheart in the Forest.
No, probably not those two. We can say for sure not those two. But you will find lots of things on here which are very suitable. I mean, I was listening to Dave Martell's stream on storytelling as well, which I am some of the way through. And he was relating how old people in his neighborhood loved to tell him just really scary stories.
Nursery rhymes from England? In particular from the Victorian age, they are horrendous. And they were basically telling that to babies.
Well, I know a few, like I know a few, like Baba Black Sheep, Pop Goes the Weasel, Ring a Ring of Roses.
Yeah.
That's about the plague.
One Norwegian tale was released in the US.
Oh, and Oranges and Bells of St. Clement, that one talks about chopping off someone's head.
The one Norwegian tale was released in the US about Askeladden, who was in an eating competition with a troll. And he took the troll to slice up his own stomach, and it created an uproar how can you tell something like this to children? Oh my
no.
God, think about the children. Well, children are a bit more resistant than many people think, and if it's a normal way of life for them, hearing stories like that, they won't really raise an eyebrow. But of course, parents' discretion. So if you do want to be careful, take a listen to them first. Create your own playlist, or naturally, that would also be great. So, yeah. And hello to Red King. Good to see you being here live.
Yeah. Oh. New person. Hi, Red King.
Thank you to Philomena and Jenny88. It's good that you like the show.
Yeah, I think there's definitely room for more scariness in children's stories because, we're kind of trying to recast everything because, non-violent, like even in Mr. Ben cartoons, which are quite a long time ago now, and, you see that Mr. Ben goes to help a dragon rather than slay a dragon, and, it's a softening of people and a softening of culture. And as much as dragons are quite cool, they've never really represented for Europeans, in particular, any sort of positive thing.
Yeah.
They have more been an evil force in stories, and that's why they've been slain.
A popular book series from when I was a child was The Little Vampire. Basically making vampires benign.
Yeah, and that moved into sort of young adult literature with Twilight. Well, and vegetarian vampires. Made vampires.
Yeah, from The Little Vampire, they were using pacifiers as children to stop their front teeth to grow too long so that they actually got fangs and stuff like that. That is a very small thing I remember from being a kid, reading those books. But it's basically normalizing the other and stuff that would normally be seen as a threat.
You're right, Timmy. Hansel and Gretel is abduction, imprisonment, and cannibalism.
Yeah, we will get into that one next week, actually. Spoiler alert.
Yes.
And it's good to see you, Timmy.
Because it is indeed. Next week is indeed children. Going to be talking about children.
Yeah, it's a good follow-up on the stream we had on elders. So why not take children as well? I do think it's good to...
We talked about the old gits. Why not talk about little brats? Nah.
Yeah.
We like old people. We like children.
At least in Norway, it's so segregated by age. So I do think it's good to have a look how they saw things back in the day and what lessons are taught and everything. So yeah, I think it's
absolutely
a good thing. And I do have to say that little clip I found for the teaser for season 4 was just adorable, with a little girl waiting for the water in the fountain to come up. It was just aww.
Yeah. Oh. Nah, that's cool. But yes, definitely make wolves scary again. Make vampires scary again. Make a story time for children scary
Yeah.
again. They need a bit of scaring
Yeah,
now and again.
we can't have too much Care Bears, you know?
Like, I feel like the people who sanitize stories a lot have not met kids.
Or,
I've seen from sort of younger relatives and stuff about just how violent the kids can be. I mean, I know myself. Like when I had my Barbies, was I making them fight sometimes? Absolutely, I was.
I
Yeah.
was actually quite peaceful, I have to say, but I've never been under the illusion that kids are, you know, just innocent little loving buggers or something. That seems to be the case with many adults these days. That they basically see children as little dolls or something and have completely forgot how cruel they can be.
Yeah.
So we do have to teach them with that in mind when teaching them morality and not just oh, be sweet and kind to each other.
Exactly.
Oh my god, Jewel.
You know?
Katrina sat in the corner decapitating her Barbies.
I'm not a psychopath, Jewel. It wasn't quite that.
That's
quite
good
that
to
bad.
hear.
Nah. Oh dear. No, mostly I sat in the corner reading a large amount of Terry Pratchett for a lot of my childhood.
I didn't read him, but I did read much.
Others of my relatives, though, I cannot speak to whether they dismantled
Can't or won't?
toys or not. I'm not. I won't talk about that. I won't talk about who dismantled things from my house. Yeah.
Maybe not reveal everything live on stream.
Oh dear.
So yeah, and also it's good to see the paradox. Shame for almost missing the stream, forgetting even. Not sure I can forgive that.
Pratchett says sanitizing the stories is for the benefit of the storyteller. Yeah.
It does seem like, in particular, mothers who get a bit overprotective.
It is certainly. It's understandable why. You know, one can't say that one doesn't understand why, but you gotta give them a good scaring sometimes. Or else, how are they gonna know what it is?
I have heard some of that kind say that, oh, you basically just want to protect them from everything, but I really do think you're doing them a disfavor by doing that, which in Norwegian actually is called a bear favor. Just just FYI. Yeah, I might have to look up the origin of that expression. I don't actually know it.
I think Bertie, what the paradox means is that that it's for the benefit of the storyteller, is that the storyteller makes themselves feel better because they themselves can't handle the harsh reality of the story. Or did you mean the author? Yeah, possibly the author, storyteller, sometimes interchangeable.
Yeah.
Other times not.
Good night, Jill. Good to see you again. I'm glad you've recovered. So, good night.
Good night. Bye. Very glad that Jewel is fully recovered there, yes.
definitely good to see him again. It's been too long. As for the benefit for the storyteller, I do think it is the reader more than the author, because if it's the author, a scary story wouldn't be told, basically. So when it comes to parents choosing stories for their kids and deliberately avoiding all of those stories, of course you have to think about their age and everything, but overall I do think they do them this favor, because they do have to learn how to live in this world, and that the world is a place full of danger and everything, and just cuddling them up and wrapping them up in bubble wrap, basically, that really isn't the way to go. So yeah, bring back scary stories. Hashtag. Maybe we can create a hashtag.
Indeed. Make fairy tales scary again.
Something like that.
Put the grizzly back in grim.
Yeah.
Definitely needed. You know, we like a bit of gore.
Yeah.
Scary is one of the most, again, as they were saying on the Dave Martell storytelling stream, the scary stories were kind of the most addictive. And we shall indeed have plenty of those. Not too far away, because we are doing a Halloween stream.
Of course we are.
So you do like the spooky. Tune in for that. We are collaborating with White Art Collective and British Artistic Reactionary Dissidents, and it should be good. We will have announcements about that coming out on the channel and what's happening there. So
we will
stay tuned. Drop the link to the Telegram channel in the chat.
We will be telling original stories, kindly provided by members of BARD, perhaps Patriot, and stuff like that. We will be featuring an excerpt from the Biz Archive as well, by Dave Martell. He hasn't written them, but he has collected stories and everything, so it should be a really, really good one. So definitely tune in. That is on the Sunday, 31st of October. Same time. Yeah.
Same time. Yes. I bet they only did it once, Yankee Apple. Yes.
Yeah. They do tend to only do that once. I managed to burn a finger with boiling water a few years back. Surprisingly, it was very painful. Of course, I didn't do it on purpose or anything, but
apparently J Link's kids are pro mountain bikers or else.
But I've actually never repeated doing that when I burned my finger, simply because I would probably shake my hand so much that I would actually do it again. I still have a bit of scarring from it, actually, so it
a reminder not to touch
not to spill boiling water on my hand. That turns out to be a very bad idea.
Ow. Yes, that is generally a bad idea.
So
we have a lot of laughing Pepes in the live chat.
Burning lynxes must be very, very funny. How dare you? I'm not even sure.
Oh no. You've hurt
Yeah, you
Lucy's
hurt my
feelings now,
fifis.
chat. Indeed. Funny, my trick is to put the accent on. No, what? What we're
Promethean
discussing.
Healing says, I like that you're working with whack, and we do too.
Oh, okay.
Okay, what?
Just found the context to trick is to put the accent on. But can't read that out.
Okay.
Oh dear.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I will put my fifis back in the cupboard. And yeah, we can't mention that on stream.
Apparently mustard and honey can be used to heal such things.
Yeah.
I don't know. What is going on in the back chat?
You have to go.
What's going on?
You have to go on D-Live.
D-Live is being D-Live.
Can't mention that on YouTube, I'm afraid. Then it will turn into the Fifi tube. Yes, apparently. Shenanigans.
Yeah, the algorithm is yeah. Not great. Not great.
So I do think this is what we have for you this week. I do hope you've enjoyed the stories. Some of the bit more simple stories today.
Yeah. Which, you know,
yes,
are still very enjoyable. A lot of our folkloric canon is just very simple life lessons.
Yeah, I definitely have been looking forward to do the Widow Fox for a long time, so it was good to do that. Hopefully the voices wasn't too bad.
Yes.
Yeah. I still... Oh, that's good. I did get a kick of good morning. Yes, I did go over that one again and again and again. I will admit it. So yeah.
We've got an Odyssey sticker in the D-Live chat. We are on Odyssey, aren't we? Just got to figure out how that sort of works
with streaming.
Yeah. If we decide ever to stream to Odyssey, I think it's a little more tolerant than some of the platforms. We'll see how it goes, really.
The chats on there can be a bit of how shall I put it, shit show. So you might want to have to be a bit more keep a bit more of an eye on that. But we might not attract that sort of people, but we can talk about that on the back end. Yeah.
I'm sure you were all nice. Thank you for the lemons, Timmy Robinson, by the way, and the ice cream. And the ice cream from Bertie Bassett.
So yeah.
And yeah. Promethean Healing, yes, we are excited indeed.
Absolutely.
To work with WAG and Bard. And hopefully we can do more sort of stuff in future. We promoted a WAC artist at the start there, Alma Lahar, and we do love a lot of the stuff that's coming out of WAC
definitely.
at the moment.
There are a lot of good people in the WAC, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, Bertie says the connection is going a bit crazy, so this might be a good time to end the stream. And because we've got no more stories, and we hope you have a wonderful Sunday evening, lovely rest of your week, and we'll see you again next week for the theme of children, and thank you, Stephen O, for those
thank you.
3 ice creams just there.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Good night, everyone. Hope to
Bye,
see you
everyone.
again next week. Same place, same time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.